Okay, welcome to another special edition of College Talk Tuesday. I'm Andy Lockwood, combining College Talk Tuesday and College Coffee Talk today. Two of my favorites with a little cappuccino. Very happy with my phone. Okay, normally Pearl would be joining me, but we are on deadline. November 1st is approaching. It's less than, I guess, definitely less than 24 hours away. So I wanted to share some stuff that she's grappling with, that we're all grappling with, in terms of the college applications for admission, in terms of the financial aid applications, the FAFSA, the CSS profile, because maybe you can glean some information that can help you either right away, or if you're the parent of a younger child, class of 2019, or perhaps younger, you'll file this away in the back of your heads and avoid some of these scary little things that have been happening on All Hallows Eve. So if you're just joining us, introduce yourselves, please, in the little comment section, and please like and share, as well as comment. And if you're watching us on replay, pop your comments, and also if you have any questions in particular, I can try to answer them. Pearl's not here. I actually, she's been working like a farm animal. She's been, up at like 4 or 5 each morning and working till like 9 or 10 at night. Her back's breaking and she's really under a tremendous amount of stress. The cortisol is flowing very, very heavily through our household. And so I did what any husband, reasonable husband should do. I sent her off for a massage. So I gave her the pass for College Talk Tuesday. Thankfully, I think we have everything under control. But here's some of the stuff that's been happening. And this is, again, what I want to pass on to you. So first of all, there seems to be a confusion among many parents and kids, for that matter, regarding deadlines. So let me just say this. I'm not going to say this once and for all. I'm just going to say this, 50th and for all. There are admissions deadlines, particularly early action and early decision deadlines. Those may be, October 15th at the earliest, or November 1, which is tomorrow, or November 15th, and so on. Those can vary. Those are the dates to get in your actual applications for college. Now, there are also early priority financial aid deadlines for colleges, for financial aid only. Those are different deadlines. So what you need to do, and actually I think I managed to do this. I'm going to give you guys in here on my Facebook page here, I'm going to give you a link to just a working document that we use here. That is, all this is just an example of a Google Doc that we use. Oh, let me see who's on. Hello, Jennifer. Thanks for coming. All right, cool. I work Pearl way too hard. Yeah, she likes it though. She's got a great work ethic. Like I said, like a farm animal, but a lot cuter. So, or a cute farm animal. So that document that I just posted here, if you can scroll around and see it, that just has a link that we've been using just for our standard colleges that we see, and it grows all the time, so it's going to be changing maybe by the time you see this. But keep track of those deadlines, because if you miss a deadline, if you miss a priority financial aid deadline, what will most likely happen is you won't be in the running for the full amount that you otherwise deserve, the full amount of money. That's really a shame, just because you're off by one day. So, and different colleges, like I said, have different priority financial aid deadlines, and some colleges have different requirements than others. So some schools require only the FAFSA. Some schools require the FAFSA plus the CSS profile. When parents are divorced, those profile schools may also require a profile from the non-custodial parent. That could happen. Now, another thing that's made things very stressful around here is that the FAFSA changed a little bit between last year and this year, and the CSS profile changed a lot bit. It changed a whole lot, and apparently the CSS profile changes every 20 years or so, like, I don't know, Halley's Comet or something. I think that's 23 years, but I digress. And so this year, because there's all these new fields and things, the software that we use and our developer, Stuart, who updates the software, had a really rough time. There's still some glitches even on the 31st, but we couldn't even file profiles for a couple of weeks. We tried to warn everyone, but that's just a prudent practice anyway. Even with the FAFSA, the federal form that's on the Department of Education's website, that had some issues too. Specifically, there were issues relating to how people port over their income documents, their tax returns into the FAFSA. And we're still seeing that come on and off, so, even on the 31st of October, 31 days after both forms came out. And the gist of it is that when you hit the IRS data retrieval tool and to dump in your tax return information, it's not necessarily appearing exactly correctly, particularly for people who have had a rollover retirement account, like they left a job in 2016 and took their retirement accounts, like a 401k or something, and dumped it into an IRA. That's showing up as not just moving money from one bucket to another, it's showing up as income if you use the IRS data retrieval tool. So at this point, we're a little gun shy about using that IRS data retrieval tool to put information in, but that's a big cluster, you know what, that we're dealing with too. So another thing that you should keep in mind, and this is not, I'm not saying this for clients in particular, but I want any clients who need to hear this, you're certainly welcome to take this advice. But anyone, most people who watch this are not clients, and many of you might have younger kids. We're having a lot of time, a lot of trouble this year, this time, with clients giving us incorrect usernames and passwords. So Pearl will say, hey, okay, I noticed that you already set up your ID to do the FAFSA, please give that to me, and then she can't log in. So multiply that times 300, and you can start to, with a looming deadline, and you can start to see how stressful that can be, particularly when clients say, no, that is that. Or, we'll ask for a kid's common application username and password so I can get in there and review the essay and all that, or the kid's college board username and password, which we need to do the CSS profile financial aid form, which many, not all, but many colleges require. We just get those and we can't log in, even though we ask people to verify this. So if you are filing yourself, do yourself a favor before you get too in the weeds. Log into each place with whatever passwords and usernames that you have, and please make sure they work first. Don't find out at 3 in the morning, like it's easy to do. So make sure if your kid is helping you by saying, here's my college board username and password so you can do your own CSS profile, give that. Make sure that they log in using that, not whatever's saved on their laptops, but actually log in with the actual information, because that's a big issue too. Okay, moving along. There have been some crashes, right? So last night, for a thankfully brief time, but probably mirroring peak activity, the CSS profile went down, and we got an error message that said something like, "Oh, sorry, we're not going to be back. We'll try to be back as soon as possible. We're working on it," type of thing. And Pearl's like, what? So then she was able to turn to our 7th graders' Halloween costumes, thankfully. But that may not be what everyone was looking to do at that point. So then eventually it came up, and one of the reasons that Pearl's up at 4 or 5 in the morning is because the overall usage on the profile is down, nationally, and I guess internationally, so that's a better time to be able to get on. Plus we have super high-speed internet access, but even that didn't necessarily help us. Also heard some reports of some glitchy stuff on the Common application, particularly when people cut and paste their documents into maybe their essays into the essays prompt section on the Common application. Sometimes what that has to do with is the browser that you're using. It might not be updated, or just a local laptop issue. I think the Common application works best with Chrome, and you want to make sure you have the most updated version of Chrome. If you're just cutting and pasting from Word, maybe an older version of Word, that may not appear as be reproduced as faithfully as you want it to be. What I've seen some kids do is dump their essay from Word or from Google Docs, whatever they're using, into like a notes function. Like, I know the Mac, which I use, has a notes tab or format, which I guess is basically a stripped away, very little coding is in there, and that seems to import better into the Common application. But you just kind of have to deal with it. So my point here is, whatever your deadlines are, don't leave them till the last minute, because all sorts of crazy things can happen. People lost power a couple nights ago because of the storms that came through here in New York. I remember I guess it was, when was it, 5 years ago, Superstorm Sandy came through, and about 4 days before, I sent out an email to everyone on the list saying, look, Pearl and I and the kids used to live in Florida. We never really took hurricanes seriously. We just thought it was just, hyperbole that the weather forecasters were doing to get attention. And then we had Katrina rip through. And that was really, really scary, and people lost power and this and that and the other thing. So what I sent out 5 years ago here, I said, look, there may be or there may not be any damage or loss of power, but understand that if there is loss of power, then most likely colleges will extend their deadlines. Don't worry about missing a November 1 deadline. And it turns out that's exactly what happened, because we were knocked out around a couple days before Halloween 5 years ago, and a lot of people were running to the libraries to get internet access so they could file their, all their information, their common applications, as well as their financial aid forms and that type of thing. So if that happens again, there's another batch of deadlines coming up, November 15th. Who knows? Don't wait till the last minute. This is a classic, because websites go down, storms come through, laptops crash, you name it. You've got to just find the time, even if it means missing school. Or, I don't know, volleyball seems to be really popular around here, even though I can't think of one person from the Northeast who is a pro volleyball baller person. So anyway. All right, so what else? All right, so we're getting some questions about, actually, let me just see who's joining us. I want to say hi. Who do we got here? So, Michelle Canarella, Jen Herman. Hi, Jen. Paige Myers, and Begat, Jim Protos. Hello, guys. Other Jennifer I said hi to already. And Rothgar Arnold, and then someone in some language that I can't read. Hello, Jimmy. Jimmy, I'd asked you before how Chris was doing. I want to hear about Bentley. Okay, good. All right, so where am I on my list here? So I want to talk about who qualifies for financial aid, and specifically, and this is not, we're not trying to bash anyone, but this type of information I'm about to share is certainly going to show up in maybe the last book we ever write, Confessions of a College Planner, because it'll probably put us out of business. So I'm going to combine a couple of different accounts and case studies and keep them anonymous. But we have a bunch of clients every year who are shocked that they can't qualify for any type of need-based financial aid. So most recently, we had a couple of clients. One is a doctor who makes $600,000 a year, and he's got no money in the bank currently. He's just uses money for other things like renovations and things like that. Borrowed money from his family to be able to qualify. To be able to pay for the home renovations and some other stuff. And he's was, according to Pearl, kind of surprised that he couldn't qualify for anything. The financial aid formulas are really for people with either a modest income, which I'll explain what that means, or not a lot of assets in places that can penalize you, which is a segue into the other example. We had someone who made a very high income in 2016, but since then was separated from employment and not earning an income, but has substantial assets, deep six-figure assets, savings accounts, and real estate investments and things like that. So in both cases, both clients of ours were seemed shocked that the calculated expected family contribution, or EFC, was which stands for what the government thinks that a family can afford for 1 year of college. I'll explain how that's calculated in a minute. But they were shocked that theirs was higher than the cost of actually sending a kid to college. They couldn't understand that. Why? How could this be true? I deserve this and that. Okay, so here's the deal. EFC is based on income, and that means all income, everything, even untaxed income, plus your savings. And in savings, it's a matter of more or less of how of where you have it saved, not necessarily how much you have saved. So there are no magic numbers or rules or bright line tests in terms of how much income is too much income. But Here's some rules of thumb. Number one, if you are if you're applying to a private college and your income is close to $200,000, the closer it gets, the harder it is to qualify for anything, unless you have 2 children in school. In which case, that income number can be a lot higher. It can be 250, 280, somewhere around there. If you're applying to state schools and your income is much above $60,000 or $70,000 with 1 kid in school, it's going to be very hard to get anything. If you have 2 kids in school, it might be a little bit easier, but the problem is not so much about your EFC, it's about the schools themselves. They don't really, the state schools, meaning in the state of wherever you live, in this, around here, that's New York, or out of the state of where you live, around here, that's not New York, then you will not be able to qualify because they don't have money. That's the real issue. It's less about you, it's more about them not having funds from their own governments. So, of their own respective state governments. So they might be able to issue some merit scholarships. More and more state schools are starting to do that, but it's just harder. So my point is, if you have a very high income, don't be shocked if your expected family contribution is super high, because that's the most important factor. There's 77 factors total, but that's the most important. Now, in my second example, the case study of the gentleman who was terminated from employment 2 years ago, what he's showing on paper now is very low income, but he's still got a lot of assets. So we're going to try to appeal his award, but it is, he won't have an award depending on what schools his daughter gets into and all that. But I don't think we're going to be that successful based on the fact that he has resources that he can use to pay for college, and that's what need-based financial aid is all about, is what your resources are as calculated by the federal financial aid formula or a different type of methodology that a lot of private schools use that take this form, the CSS profile. Now I know I'm getting a little deep here, but into the weeds, but I don't mean to do that. My point is that don't, just because you hope or think you deserve financial aid doesn't mean you're going to get it. Now that being said, in both cases, both college-bound kids are, for each of my 2 clients, are applying to a lot of colleges that will give merit-based money, not necessarily need-based, but merit-based money, which is based on grades and scores. So here's a rule of thumb: if you're looking for merit-based money from colleges, look at everyone that the college admitted last year, or at least get the number of total admits, and look at what they report is the median SAT or ACT score and median GPA. And if you can do the math and figure out where you fall out, what quartile you fall out, if you're in the top 25% based on last year's, you've got a very good shot at getting substantial merit scholarships from that particular school. And sometimes these schools are not exactly, the Ivy League schools or the dream colleges, but in many cases, kids go on to grad school or medical school or law school or something like that, and there's a very strong argument if you're a big fish in a small pond, it's going to help you get into a better grad school, and it really matters more where you finish than where you start. This whole process should be about the 40 years after college, not really the 4 years of college. I know that's what everyone fixates on, but for us, we look at the whole picture as best that we can, and we have a whole process that involves examining that. So that's my best advice there. Be realistic. Play the long game. Don't play the short game. Take a look at your deadlines. Write everything down. Test out your passwords and usernames. It's a lot to do, but if you're methodical about it and you make checklists and all that, you will do a whole lot better. Before I wrap up, let me see. I see some chat in here. Okay, Jimmy says, will making payments to current student loan that's not due affect future loan requests? No, not at all. Will my ability to make loan payments now affect second child's financial request for aid when going to college next year? No, not at all. That will not. All you're doing is building up a good credit history. That's the best thing. All right, who else? Anyone else who needs a shout out here? I think I covered everyone. Dan Fuss. Okay, good. Yeah, we gotta catch up, Mr. Counselor. Kind of curious what's happening up there in college land in the Fuss household. Okay, so I'm going to sign off here. I got to get back to reviewing some more last minute essays and activity sheets on the Common Application and other fun stuff like that. and I hope you found this valuable. Again, if you're watching this on replay, if any have questions, pop them in comments, and please like, comment, share. There's a way to make sure you get notified every time that we come on. I can't remember exactly how to do that. I think if you go on one of those upper right toggle things, you'll be able to be notified. Or maybe if you just like the page, you'll be notified. So, all right, thanks a lot for watching, and happy Halloween and happy deadlines. Bye-bye.